Cześć, witam Was ponownie na moim kanale Vintage Music Geek. Zapraszam na drugą odsłonę mojego wywiadu z Andym Powellem, czyli wokalistą, gitarzystą i współzałożycielem legendarnego zespołu Wishbone Ash, który jest znany z takich klasyków rocka jak m.in. Blind Eye, Lady Whiskey,
Saturday night.
Persephone,
Just don't care to see years go wasted. There's no longer magic in your eyes.
W tej części naszej rozmowy poruszyliśmy takie tematy jak m.in. współpraca Wishbone Ash ze słynnym producentem Martinem Birchem. Skąd wziął się pomysł na nagranie utworu Was This? Jak powstała przepiękna, urokliwa ballada Lullaby? O tym, czy Andy utrzymuje kontakt z oryginalnymi członkami zespołu Wishbone Ash, jak Andy wspomina współpracę z takimi wybitnymi muzykami, basistami jak John Wetton czy Trevor Balder, którzy na początku lat 80. współpracowali z zespołem Wishbone Ash. Niezmiennie zachęcam Was do subskrybowania, lajkowania, obserwowania mojego kanału Vintage Music Geek, na którym już wkrótce pojawią się kolejne wywiady z legendami muzyki rockowej. Tymczasem zapraszam Was na drugą część mojej rozmowy z Andym Powellem. Miłego oglądania. Artificial intelligence, yeah? Also
Yes.
is not helpful, yeah? Because
Yeah.
sometimes ago I heard song that my colleague get me to this song that sound very realistic. I can say, oh, who is this singer? Who is this? And he say,
I
no,
know.
it's not real. It's not real. Yeah, and so it's
It's
very
incredible. Yeah, I know. It's coming on very, very strong, and it's coming in. Certain genres of music lend themselves to this process.
Mhm.
Country music, for example,
Mhm.
it's already very formulaic, and so that AI can just take these formulas and regenerate them.
Mhm.
But it has no soul. But it will be, if like everything, all this technology, it will be used as a helping tool. But you have to keep the human element as the main thing. But if we can use these things intelligently, we'll see how it develops,
But generally, if you play concert, yeah, because I won't play concert, I guess it won't be possible to this singer that had been created by artificial intelligence would sing to people. Yeah, they know
Yeah.
that it's not real. Yeah, because
Well, it could be a hologram. It could be a hologram.
it could be. Do you see?
I mean, in China right now, there's a singer, and he has something like 6 robots on stage with him, and they're doing backflips and dancing with him. It's crazy.
Crazy,
But
yeah.
there will be new forms of entertainment coming, but who knows?
What is the idea behind this song? What can you say about how it
Which song?
with Van Diaz. Van Diaz.
Vaz Diaz,
Vaz
yeah.
Diaz, sorry. Yeah, Vaz
That's
Diaz.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the 60s and 70s, we would experiment with different genres of music. And Vaz Diaz was a jazz piece
Yeah.
that a band called Brother Jack McDuff and his trio. There was a jazz trio, I think, from the 60s. It was their song. And we just loved it. And we decided to make it a different arrangement and make it for rock guitar. And people loved it, you know, jazz.
Yeah.
But we would play some music would go into the folk area. Some would go into the jazz, and people loved that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you just in your music there you can say so many genres, like you said, jazz, folk, of course, hard rock, blues, soul, many genres. Is any of the genres more nearest to your heart? I think soul, because you begin from the soul band.
Well, yeah, I like music that has a soulful feeling, but I like the folk side of things. It comes from me primarily. You know, songs like "Errors of My Way" or "Ballad of the Beacon," "Leaf and Stream." These songs, this is from me. You know, I'm more on the acoustic side of things. You know, but I do like rock and I like jazz too. So what can I tell you? You know.
I mean, the most incredible and song that I like very much from your material, from your albums, is Lullaby. Lullaby.
Yes,
It's
thank you.
for me. It's
It's
always
lovely.
when I hear it, it's always I have shivers, and I like it very much. And I
Oh,
just
that's lovely. Yeah, that was from my own inspiration, definitely.
yeah. How you remember when you created it? When you just come to when this song come to your mind, and how you remember this creating process of
Well,
this?
it was really about trying to get the guitars to weave in together in a natural way
Mhm.
without it sounding too contrived. And so, you know, one guitar starts off, the other guitar follows in, and it's got a beautifully organic feeling about
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I remember it. It was a very gentle side of the band. We've always had instrumentals in the band, and some of them are very delicate like that, you know, with electric guitars, and it has a special feeling. You're right, most
Yeah,
definitely.
I have a lot of memories with that song because I always, yeah, it's very
Well,
it's
I mean,
your
I
imagination.
play. Yeah, I had the song played at my mother's funeral, for example. It's a very tender song, you know.
Are you still in touch with the ex-original band members, for example, with Steve Upton?
No, not particularly. Although Ted Turner did have he was quite um, ill a year or so ago, and I sent him a message, and he was very grateful. But no, I would say it's a little bit like a divorce, you know. We like a marriage that was many years ago, and so we don't really live the same lives anymore. You know, I can say that. And you probably know there was a big court case over
Yeah.
the name, and you can read about that in my book. Um, but no, there's no particular interest in each other anymore. You know, we all live 30 years later, 40 years later, just living different lives. I mean, I helped Steve Upton when he left the band. I helped him get a new position with in France, working with our manager. And I was happy to help him at that time when he was going through personal problems. But I don't have any. I have from we're in the 90s. I collaborated with Martin
Yeah.
for a brief period of time, but then it devolved again. And he's gone his own way. We had the court case. I've gone my own way. I've never left the band, so it's very easy for me. I don't have to think about it. I always stay with the band.
But Steve, some time ago, I heard or I see some that you reformed for one show it was around 10 years ago or something like that. There was meeting or show or a meeting just original members. Do you remember
That
that?
was that was not with me.
Ah,
That was that was with Laurie Winesfield and
yeah.
Martin Turner, I think, and
Ah,
they had something in. They had a new manager. Somebody was helping them with their career, and I think they decided to do something in a country house somewhere.
uh-huh.
And so, but it was nothing to do with me and Wishbone Ash, as it is, as it is carried on.
Mhm.
So I think they perhaps thought they might reform,
Mhm.
but it never came of anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
They it's very difficult because if a businessman comes to ex-members from some 70s band and says, "Hey, wouldn't it be a great idea if you guys reformed and did this?" This is not like the feeling that the musicians might have. That they, it has to be real. Many people, they come up to these old bands and they say, "Hey, I could make you some money, and wouldn't it be a great idea if you reform?" It never works because the feeling is not real.
Yeah.
And I think that was a little bit of that going on. They were all happy to see each other, I think, but no one wanted to be the leader of that.
Time passed and you are different
Yes.
points in your life and don't
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
back.
You have to really want to make records. Like I really I've enjoyed making records since the early days. I never stopped making records. 20, was it 25, 26 studio albums, many DVDs, many live albums. It's just continues.
I would like to ask about Martin Beach because he worked on your first three albums as an engineer, not as a producer. But anyway, you get in touch with him and you also cooperate with him, so you can say something about this cooperation with Martin Birch, the
Well,
legendary producer. You can say.
yeah, he became a legendary producer. I think Iron Maiden hired him because he had worked with us, I think. And he made a big career with them. But I think that we hired Martin Birch because of his experience with Fleetwood Mac,
Mhm.
Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. But he was an engineer at that time, not a producer.
Mhm.
And the thing is that he was a very, very good engineer, and he could record guitar very well. And the early days of rock, and he was a great guy to work with. Very quiet, very the perfect guy in a studio, just adding to the atmosphere, but not throwing any crazy personality issues or very conducive, accommodating to the musicians, and that's what you really want when you're being creative.
You, by the lyrics you wrote, you are also inspiring power metal bands, I think, because they also singing about warriors, about knights, about something like that. So somehow I think it's also you also impacted that.
Yeah, I think we've inspired a lot of bands, younger musicians, particularly in rock. And
Mhm.
there's a connection between metal, rock, medieval, almost Game of Thrones type
Yeah.
mysticism, and I think that young men really liked that. We liked it, and it opened expanded the music. So this mentality, and I think bands from the early 70s inspired a lot of filmmakers. Things like Avatar, things like and the album covers too. It all fed into popular culture and TV shows, and a lot of it was inspired by the early 70s, the bands that came up,
Mhm.
especially the British bands and
Mhm.
early metal.
The 70s, I don't know, I think you agree with me because 70s bands, musicians, the bands from these times, this music is most creative period in the rock music. I guess most of the classic albums, most of the albums that made impact on later on music are comes from 70s, maybe end of 60s and 70s. This period was most creative period in the rock music. That's my opinion. I don't know, would you agree with this?
I would agree with that. Yeah, everything now is a refinement of that, and you know, you can say it was the last period of the handmade music. You know, really organic, analog. From this point on, everything will become far more digital, far more AI tech orientated, and this will be a line in the sand, you know, a mark.
Mhm, mhm.
You're exactly right.
What's your memories from your shows in Poland? Do you have some memories of playing concert in Poland?
Yeah.
First concert that you played there, yeah?
Well, we love playing in Poland because the audiences are very emotional.
Mhm.
They you know pick up on the emotion of the music, and that's inspiring, you know, when we go. But you know, I love touring around some of the old cities of Poland, and just meeting people, you know, and it's a beautiful country and has a lot of feeling, you know, emotion about. I, would- we've had very nice festivals in Poland, very nice clubs and theaters. You know, it's very good, very
Mhm.
good.
Most amazing place or you ever played in? I mean, the place like you play on a cave, top of the mountain, on the beach, or do you have something that place that usually the concert are not occurring there, not happening there, but you play there, and have you got something like
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. I mean, in recent times, we were in Istanbul and we opened the opera house there. They have a new opera house in Taksim Square. That was pretty incredible. But we also were one of the few bands that toured India
Mhm.
in the 80s, the late 80s. We went to India and we played shows in Calcutta, in Pune, in New Delhi. And it's incredible, crazy world, you know, with open air concerts, very uh, basic setup, you know. You can imagine, you know, with scaffold made of bamboo and thousands of people and just India. That's a crazy place to play. But we did it, and we had a great adventures there. It was amazing, really incredible. We played in against the walls of the palace, the Emperor's Palace in Tokyo.
Uh-huh.
Amazing, you know, to play there. Um, yeah, lots of strange places. South Africa, you know, Soviet Union before the wall
Yeah.
came down, you know. I mean, these bad old places. But the audience is always great, you know.
Yeah. But has this place, is like you mentioned, inspired you? I know that inspired, but I mean, you play in such place when you see that, I know, beach or some full of sun, a lot of people,
Yeah,
the blues.
yeah.
Is it inspired your playing on this thing on the stage, and you think differently than in other places when you play? Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know what?
definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we've written songs about this travel experiences. I mean, Lorelei is one we wrote, you know, being in Germany. We wrote the song Streets of Shame when we were in Mumbai.
Mm.
We were down in this really bad part of town, and they inspired the song Streets of Shame. So yeah, all these travel experiences, uh, have inspired songs.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Have you got any, apart from music, any hobbies, anything that when you come back to home, yeah, for example, you are, reading books, or you are just, fixing some some bikes, I don't know, something like that, that you just resting after the shows,
Yeah,
after the.
well, I'm just like a normal person. I mean, I have this crazy life, but I mean, I do things. I like gardening. I go out in the back yard, and I like to make my space look nice, with plants and things. I like to ski, or I used to ski quite a lot in the winter, a lot. And I like fast cars. I'm driving fast cars a lot, and I'm driving boats as well. I like to go on the water with speedboats and sailboats, and I like to go fishing. I'm very big, very I really enjoy fishing a lot, and nature. I like to be in nature, and I like to be by lakes or the sea, or I really like that a lot.
That make you, I guess, relax after the concert,
Yeah,
after it makes you
yeah,
calm
uh,
and have this nature
yeah,
around you, yeah?
yeah. And I have a family as well. I have grandchildren,
Yes, yeah.
and I love to see my grandkids. I have two twin grandsons at 4 years of age,
Uh-huh.
and they're amazing. Yeah,
Are they
and
going to
I like.
play
Who
on
knows?
instruments?
We certainly play a lot of music to them, and they like singing. So we'll see.
Okay, you talk about fast cars, that you like fast cars, you like that kind, because your surname is Powell. Cozy Powell, is it related? Was he related to you somehow?
No, we just have the same last name, but maybe there could be some connection way back. I've never checked, but he likes fast cars. Unfortunately, yeah. I had a bad demise in a
Yeah.
fast car, but yeah, I drive quite. I drive fast.
As you talk about bass player, Bob Ski. So, what do you think? Why, how it is comes that you work with him for 30 years and you still not fed up with each other, and you are still
Yeah.
playing together?
Well,
Yeah.
because we come from the same part of London,
Mhm.
so we understand our culture, and we have the same mentality, the same humor, and yeah, he really, really enjoys the life that, like I enjoy the life, and he's been the longest serving member of Wishbone Ash, actually,
Yes.
longer than some of the early guys. So yeah, he just fits. It just works. It's great.
Yeah. And we're talking about bass players because there on the 80s, beginning of the 80s, there was two very famous bass players that play in Wishbone Ash. I mean, one was John Wetton.
Yeah.
How you recall working with him?
Well, John, it was very brief. He only worked on the album Done with the Brave, and we never toured together.
Mhm.
And but he very much wanted to do this more symphonic rock. Asia was in his mind,
Mhm.
and it was very keyboard orientated. So, I could not really see it lasting. But he was fantastic, to play with. And then Trevor Balder was the other one, who played with David Bowie and Uriah Heep. And
Uriah
Trevor
Heep.
also a fantastic, very powerful bass player, and a good guy, very easy to get on with, good guy.
Mhm. So did he get something from, Uriah Heep also was very important band for hard rock, yeah. This harmonies, yeah. Have he also come with these ideas from Uriah Heep to Wishbone Ash? Have you
A
noticed
little
it?
bit,
Yeah.
more in the style, yeah.
Uh-huh.
With the rock energy, I think. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, 100%.
You
Yeah,
play
it was
also.
great working. Very good working with Trevor. He came to India with us, actually. If you listen to those David Bowie albums,
Yeah.
Hunky Dory, it's great, fantastic bass playing.